Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the JOYELY Intelligence Edge, or as I like to call it, the JQ Edge, where we start every single morning with purpose, execution, and proof. And this whole week, what are we talking about? We are talking about how to engage your employees so they become recruiting machines, human machines, and that you become the best place to work. So, where are we at with that? We're at the halfway point of the year. We're in June. And so let's continue with our goal today. So I'd like to posit this question for you. How do you believe we can turn disengaged employees and teams into a high performance culture? So, our purpose this morning is I'd love for you to think about a question you can ask your team. As a CEO, you can ask your board, as a team member, employee, janitor, office person. What can you do? What idea do you have to turn disengagement into a high performance culture? Now, remember, with purpose, execution, and proof, we're not turning the culture around 100% today. We're starting to move forward one step at a time. And I'm here to share with you how Joy Intelligence can help you with that process. So we all know there's a huge issue going on, which is 15% of employees are highly engaged at work. This comes from Forbes. This comes from Harvard Business School. This comes from MIT. Well, what does that mean? 85% of employees are sitting untapped right now. You've got potential and intellect and motivation and skill sets not engaged. And the paradox is this: low engagement, high disengagement, and the paradox is the quit rate is decades low. Yet 51% of workers are actively looking for something better. People are staying, but they're not really there. In the early 2000s and late 1990s, we used to call that, some people would call it, if you were like me now, a little bit of a older worker, we'd call that in place but retired. And so the head count is there, but it doesn't show up in quality of work, team dynamics, customer interaction. So here in Southern Nevada, hospitality is growing, manufacturing is growing, and healthcare has a huge need, but we're all competing for the same talent pool. And this is important. Engagement isn't a human resources metric. It is, when you can tap into engagement, a competitive advantage. It will set you apart because employees will tell family and friends of friends what a great place it is to work and how engaged they are, how they get asked for advice. So in this next 6 months, we want to help you pull ahead. And you don't want to spend 2027 replacing people that you've lost. So let's just highlight some bullet points here. 23% of employees globally are engaged at work, and that's from the Gallup's latest survey, 25 and 26. An actively disengaged employee costs about 30%, 34% of your annual salary. And 71% of executives believe employee engagement is essential for company success. So let's jump to a solution. Execution. Joy Intelligence is an engagement strategy for your organization that's been missing because it works at the level of where and who your people are, not just what they do. So why do engagement problems fail? They fail because they address symptoms. Just like a doctor, if you address symptoms and not the source or root cause, that's not going to work. Free lunches, surveys, recognition emails don't land. Let me say that again. Free lunches, survey scores, recognition emails don't land without addressing the root. Here's the deal. Here's the solution right here. Please ask your team members, your executives, your department heads, your janitors, do they feel safe, present, and connected? And what does safe look like? That means not being criticized or given negative feedback in front of other people. That means being able to speak up at a meeting without being sneered at. That means gossip throughout the organization or department has stopped. It means we've encouraged and create not only the process, but the culture where we insist everyone gets input. Ideas are considered, and that makes employee engagement the start. It takes off, it goes straight up. We all want the feeling that my opinion matters, that my input was considered. And that's huge. And it is not an everyday practice. So if we just start with that, how can we make everyone feel safe, present, and connected? And it solves this at a neurological level. It's the human condition. We want to feel respected, connected, listened to on a regular basis. Even if my idea isn't the one that gets picked or lands, well, then at least I felt listened to. And that becomes powerful day to day, week to week, and month to month. So, what is the Joy Intelligence Framework? It is simple, yet it's difficult to jump into without some outside help. And we're here to help you with that. So, the framework starts with safety. It's the foundational condition for any genuine engagement at any organization, at any restaurant, at any business. Without it, people protect themselves instead of contributing. Presence. There's 4 stages of emotional presence. And leaders and teams stay fully engaged in high stakes moments without dissociating, without going on autopilot when we use those 4 stages. Presence, how are we showing up? How are we listened to? How do I listen as a leader? Do I ask my team questions or am I directing? And when you can give people the ability to access an emotion, joy, on demand, joy is underneath all emotions. All other emotions are temporary, they pass through us. Here's what happens. Here's the science. Here's the reality that you all know. You've seen it, you've felt it yourself. We shift from stress, pressure, poor decision, desperation to clarity in seconds, making sustained engagement not just possible, but practical. So, what would your team look like if they were engaged each day the rest of this week with just engagement, more listening, more asking of questions? Let's just start right there. So, we have some tools that can help. We want to measure your team's safety, presence, and joy levels. That's free. Just go to joyely.com and take the navigation quiz. But more than that, We would love to hear from you as a CEO, as a leader, as a manager. What is going on with your team? Are they engaged part of the time, disengaged, going through the motions? Are they performing at a high level where we're not getting the results we want? So that's why we're doing the Joy Q Edge, Joy Intelligence Edge every morning to try to share with you how in just 15 minutes or less, you can turn things around. So what is the management engagement level at your workplace? What is you as a manager, team leader, supervisor, CEO? What is the manager engagement? And 71% of voluntary exits trace back to people felt there was poor management. It's in every survey. I wasn't listened to. My opinion didn't matter. I was a cog in a big wheel. Never asked my opinion. Going through the motions. You can turn that around just by two things. Ask questions that are open-ended and get input from your team. And listen, summarize what they said, prove that you made it happen, that you engaged them, ask them and implement something. That creates your presence, that creates your ability to connect, and it unlocks the brilliance of each of the team members you brought on. You wouldn't have brought them on if they didn't have that. So engagement follows when employees feel safety, presence, and yes, joy. And it's not woo-woo. It's beyond happiness. Happiness is temporary. Joy can be permanent. You're in the zone of high performance. So would you like these results? Let me ask you that. Here's the proof. Here's the proof. Would you like 21% greater profitability because of high engagement? Gallup says you can do that. And through our real life studies at businesses, we know Joy Intelligence increases that. What would 17% increase in productivity look like? Here's something. I really want you to comment on this. Connect with me or Cheryl Lynn on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, email us, drbrian.grossman@joyely.com. This is critical. And it's something you know, but we don't implement. 84% of employees who feel appreciated are more engaged. They want to stay. They want to fix things. Now, I've experienced this at maximum security prisons, crisis units in hospitals, day-to-day working in psychiatric units, but I've also experienced it working on sales teams, working in manufacturing. You can feel it, and you've all had this. You've walked into a restaurant, a bank, and you know what? I'm walking back out. You can tell by the atmosphere, or dare I say, the feeling you get walking in, too negative. So let me say it again. 84% of employees who feel appreciated are more engaged. How can you today, with this proof, how can you step forward with purpose, execution, and the proof, make any employee, just one team member, feel more appreciated today? I'd love for you to try that and report back to us what happened when you just did it with one person. Companies with strong recognition and engagement cultures have higher retention and profitability. It doesn't matter about the economy. We've always had ups and downs in the economy. We've always had ups and downs and shortages of employees. Right now, it is more acute. It is a mini crisis, and we want to help you solve it. Can you start today with just more recognition and engagement? Just by having a conversation. Engagement and flexibility outrank compensation. Engagement and flexibility outrank compensation. By the way, that's from the McKinsey report this year in 2026. So let me be clear, what can we do today? JOYELY is not a survey or wellness perk. It's a science-backed system that measures, builds, and sustains engagement at the individual level, team level, organizational level, CEO level. And we have the data that tracks that. Joy intelligence implementation with your KPIs. We'd love to have a conversation with you about that. However, today, can you do this? Can you identify 3 people on your team who seem disconnected and commit to an engagement action with each of them? Register for this show, JQ Edge Live, at jqlive.joyely.com, JOYELY.com. Contact us directly. Let's have a conversation. But more than that, I'd like you to do this and report back to us. Just send us a comment. Ask 3 team members today randomly, what would need to change for you to bring your best self to work each day? What would need to change for you to bring your best self to work each day? And can you answer that for yourself also? So let's have this conversation. Let's just ask questions. So thank you for joining me today on the show. You can book an appointment with me, zoomwith.drbriangrossman.com, or message me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or email. Tomorrow, we'll talk about more engagement solutions. Thank you for joining me. Have an amazing Tuesday.